Monday mornings at 8:40, go to this guy. One of my best friends all the way back to Poly Prep, now a dear friend of the Bernie and Sid in the Morning Show. Friend of mine has been around a long, long time. He's the man, famed defense attorney Joe Tacopina at 8:40 on this Monday morning. Good morning, Joseph.
Good morning, boys.
How are you, pal?
Hey, Joe.
Okay, buddy. Hey,
Okay.
Bern. How you doing? Hey, Sid.
Everybody's great. So listen, last we spoke, there were some developments in this Bob Kraft story. It's not going away. The owner, of course, of the New England Patriots who got caught in that massage parlor down in Jupiter, Florida. And you were talking about some lady who was like a, I don't know, just she got caught up in all of it. She was innocent, getting her feet rubbed. And next thing you know, she's being mentioned and part of this whole sting. So there's been some more developments in the Bob Kraft story. Joe, what do we got now?
It just goes on and on. I mean, look, let me for full disclosure, I represent a group of the people who are in this massage parlor getting legitimate massages,
Right.
and being videotaped against their will and certainly without their knowledge, which is a crime. So obviously a privacy rights violation. It's a Fourth Amendment violation. You know, the way they got this videotape surveillance. But, you know, the case is just crumbling left and right. Every single day it's something new. I mean, first of all, someone was trying to, against the law, trying to peddle a copy of this salacious videotape to some, news organization, some online news organization, which is a felony. I mean, the fact that this was released is incredible. But more importantly, this whole case, don't forget, this whole case was all premised on this whole horrific human sex trafficking allegations. And this is Bob Kraft arrest puts the spotlight on sex trafficking. And the prosecutor went out there and said that modern day slavery can happen anywhere, including in the peaceful community of Jupiter. That was what Dave Arenberg, the prosecutor, said. They've since come out and said, oh, there was no human sex trafficking whatsoever. Of course not. There was a few women working in a spa. Obviously a couple of them owned the spa, a couple of them worked there, but everyone was really happy with their jobs, so no one was held against their will. But that's the only way they were able to get the ability to put in surreptitious videotape recordings. And it's really, really despicable because that whole warrant should be tossed and the whole case should be tossed. I mean, it's something incredible. And I represent a lot of people who are in there legitimately and are horrified with the notion that they could be sitting with their wife and kids or husband and kids, watching the evening news, and their nude body comes streaming across the television.
Yeah. Plus, they were taping them for years. I mean, if they were taping them for years and they knew these people or they thought these people were slaves, as they said, it turns out they weren't. But you would think they would move in way before.
No, the tape was they actually taped for a 5-day period. They were watching them since early, late last year. But they were only taping them for a 5-day period. But still, 5-day period, straight recording in every single room without what we call minimization, which is, you have to be recording evidence of a crime, not just, evidence of a 75-year-old lady going in there getting a massage,
right,
being, naked or partially naked. I mean, it's absolutely outrageous. It's horrifying. I mean, when you think about it. And this was all done in the name of, saving slavery.
Yeah.
Saving these poor women who were oppressed.
Well,
and it's always a big joke.
Right. It was a good thought. Close to the home, this trial with this jogger in Howard Beach, this lovely girl who was murdered going back almost 2 years ago, I guess now, with Toronto, had this, they arrested this kid, Chanel Lewis. And a lot of folks, by the way, in that neighborhood think he didn't do it, even though there's overwhelming DNA evidence and all these things. First time there was a mistrial. Second time around, they found him guilty in 5 hours. But now it comes out that one of the jurors said that he was absolutely pressured to make sure he came back with a guilty plea. And he said he was not the only juror that happened to. So today, they're either going to sentence Chanel Lewis or they're going to send him home. So my question to you is, well, hold on.
They're not sending him home.
Maybe not send him home, but he's going to get off. Listen, we hear about police, the confessions. Sometimes they're coerced. Now you got a juror that said he or she was coerced into making that decision. This does happen, yes?
It does happen, and things happen in the jury rooms in the back that are obviously out of sight for all of us to see, in the justice system, the prosecutors, defense lawyers, judges, that if you find out about it, you would be horrified. I mean, these are people making the most important decisions in the lives of individuals, right. And some of the stuff that goes on back there is just downright scary.
Yeah.
Some of the way they make decisions is really scary. I mean, I had a juror actually write an 85-page article for the New York Observer about jury deliberations in the rape cop case, and they came to the right verdict in that case, but still, it was a little horrifying to hear what was going on. But look, what's happening here is not that unusual. You'll always have, after the fact, especially in high-profile cases, some jurors saying something to the press. Some jurors, I mean, it happened in OJ. It happened in, go name the high-profile cases where it didn't happen, and that's the anomaly. But here, in this case, you had a juror saying that he was pressured. I remember that when it first came out. But at the end of the sentence, at the end of his statement to the press, he also said he believed justice was served. So, what does that mean? I mean, if he was pressured, but he didn't think
that's not what I'm reading.
Right verdict,
that's not what I'm reading.
He couldn't say that.
No, I'm reading in the New York Times. He actually did not think the defendant was guilty and was forced into saying that he was.
Well, look, I've read something else also, but here's what happens. You have a situation where these jurors will now come out, and some say, well, I feel bad, so on and so forth. But the problem is, at the end of the day, for a jury verdict to be overturned for juror misconduct, the bar is so high, guys. I mean, I've been through it. I've tried it as a defense lawyer. I've dealt with it as a prosecutor. I mean, the bar is so high. And, the prosecutors have come back in response to that by saying, these jurors, they filed their own set of motions saying that the same woman identified in defense papers as one of the jurors, Juror D, denied ever saying or hearing anything similar to what the defense is saying she said. So she's saying something different to different people, obviously. It has to be so overwhelming, so pervasive, so just rawly, improper that a judge is going to have to say this verdict is not sustainable. It's a very high bar. The fact that jurors argue that they now have regrets, that they have different things. Look, they were all asked after the verdict, is this your verdict? And they all said yes. Right. So it's hard now to undo that. People have regrets all the time after jury trials.
Did you have any doubts yourself, Joe Tacopina? I mean, they found his DNA under her fingers. He had cuts on his knuckles consistent with him punching her in the teeth. And I know he's not all there, but he did confess twice. But he's not all there. So did you have any qualms about this guy being arrested and convicted, during the trial?
Look, Bernie, my brain is conditioned as a defense attorney, right? And I always want to presume innocence, and I don't want to jump to conclusions. But from what I know, and of course I wasn't part of that trial, but from what I've read, I have absolutely no doubt that this guy was the killer. I mean, based on the evidence, the DNA evidence, unless it was completely contaminated, and these cops were in a grand conspiracy, committing all sorts of criminal offenses to set up this innocent guy. For what reason, by the way? I don't know. I'd be hard pressed to think that this guy wasn't the killer. I mean, I really would. I think the jurors, based on the evidence presented, definitely got it right. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you could really argue otherwise. I mean, look, there's always instances of police misconduct, but we're talking about someone being completely set up here. Either that or Chanel Lewis is the unluckiest human being to ever walk the face of this earth.
So, what's funny? I remember we had Vinny Politano on last week, Bernie and I. And, Joe, I remember in the early 2000s when I was at WFAN, they would always call me Catherine Cryer and Kimberly Guilfoyle Newsom back then, and Vinny. Anytime an athlete got into trouble, Jason Williams, Allen Iverson, I was their go-to guy on court TV. And I can't tell you how many times I walked in and you were sitting there, like with Catherine Cryer. So they're bringing back court TV in 2 weeks. So there's more TV time coming up for you, Tac.
I think, listen, I used to have an office in court TV. I lived there for a couple of years. I mean, that thing was, but I think that was the most, I don't know why it never went away, because it was the only thing like it on television.
It was great.
It was either your thing or not your thing. But for people who are into the trials and the drama of a trial, a criminal trial and the justice system, I mean, it was the only thing out there. And I think there was a void in television. So I'm glad it's come back. It should be coming back.
You need some good celebrity-type trials. Like O.J. was the first, obviously. And then she wasn't a celebrity, but you had the girl who killed her daughter, Casey Anthony. I mean, you need stuff like that. And when those things, when they're lacking that, then court TV gets a little slow. Maybe that was the reason.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. They started, when you didn't have that celebrity trial, you had some, murder case in Wisconsin
Yeah.
Some guy.
Listen, but those cases you're talking about, Joe, Nancy Grace, we're talking about those on headline news, and I never missed it, and that could have easily been on court TV, easily.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, look, it's real life drama. It's the stuff they make movies about.
Right.
It's stuff they write books about. And why would you want to see it develop in real time? Now, some of the problem with court TV used to be, and still will be, is during a trial, you don't always have the great, exciting testimony, the Perry Mason moment. Sometimes you have forensic evidence where some guy's coming in there and going to testify for an hour and a half about some molecular analysis he did and something like that. And sometimes that could get a little slow, but that's where commentary.
Listen, millions of people watch Hot Bench every morning. They're arguing over $48.
and by the way, Nancy Grace can make a traffic ticket seem like
it's the worst thing ever.
Like
exactly.
It's the Scopes monkey trial, for God's sakes.
Excellent job, Joe Tacopina. Every single week, you're great. Enjoy your Monday. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Okay, boys.
All right. 1-800-848-WABC. Go out in a little dire straits. Mark Knopfler.